tofu by sleeping with my boss's son. I had been working at this warehouse for a little over a couple of months. Generally, I have no interest in work relationships. I should say I had no interest. That was until I laid my eyes on him. He was the most beautiful man I've ever seen in my life. He was 6'5", had tattoos, and was in training to be an amateur boxer. So you can only imagine what physical shape he was in. Anyways, I decided to leave my number on his desk. We were always making eye contact, and I felt that the attraction was mutual. No surprise, I got a text after work. We exchanged conversations for a little while, and then he asked me to go on a date. I was pretty excited at this time, not realizing what was about to follow. So I said yes. We arranged to meet at this restaurant to have dinner over the weekend. Things started to get weird, and I realized how looks can be deceiving. He was very nice, but honestly was as dumb a box of rocks. Very much into himself, and had terrible hygiene. Go figure. I thought I'd give him the benefit of the doubt. He seemed like a genuine person over text message. So I was curious as to who this person was in front of me. It was about 10 PM when we finished, and then we decided to go to his house to watch a movie. I should say mansion. They were obviously filthy rich, and had no problem showing that. I knew that his dad wasn't home, because he was having an affair with the our lady at work. But what I didn't know was that his mother was there. We go upstairs to his man cave, started watching movies. Things were getting pretty hot and heavy between us, but I knew was getting to be late. It was 4 AM when I checked the time, and I wasn't planning on staying there. I generally don't like to have sex on the first date. I'm a pretty good-looking blonde, and I personally don't like being taken advantage of. So I tend to hold things off until I recognize good intentions. Plus, I didn't want things to be awkward at work the following week. So I decided time to leave. To both of our surprises, when we walked outside, the ground was covered in about 2-3 foot of snow. Mind you, it was 4 AM, and pros tend to wait until the snow is done falling before going out. No biggie. I'm pretty used to driving in snow, since I've only lived in Illinois practically my whole life. Well, I must have had very poor judgment, because as soon as I tried to back out of the driveway, my tires began to spin, and I was sure there was no way I was going to be able to make it home. I started to panic, because like I said, I had no intentions of staying the night. But at this point, I really had no other choice other than to sleep in my car. So, I called him right away and asked to stay until the plows began to come out. Didn't say anything about there being a problem. So I went back inside. This is where things really took a turn for the absolute worst. I was wearing skinny jeans, and as some of you may know, sleeping in jeans is one of the most uncomfortable feelings. So I take them off. We laid next to each other for a little while, until out of nowhere, I hear these heavy footsteps walking up the stairs followed by loud banging on his bedroom door. If you remember from the beginning, I didn't think anybody else was home. He shoots up, flips the light switch, and his mother practically busts the door wide open. Immediately starts screaming how they have a policy that they don't allow females to stay the night. He was 24. I'm shaking at this point while he's explaining the situation of my car being stuck in the snow. She shows no signs of any remorse whatsoever. Practically tells me to get the duck out and says she's not leaving until I get up. Here I am, no pants on. I thought she would at least leave the room to allow me to put them back on, but I was wrong. I frantically shot out of bed and put my pants back on while she's standing in the doorway, saying I'm sleazy and can't believe I would try such a thing on a first date. I couldn't get out of there fast enough. He didn't even bother to walk me to my car or apologize for his lunatic mother. I sat in my car for a few moments to collect my thoughts on what the heck just happened before attempting to head home. It was about 5 AM. And thankfully I could see plows clearing off main roads, but his subdivision remained untouched. I was still stuck in the driveway, but I was pretty determined to get the duck out of there. 20 minutes later, I was able to get out of the driveway after going forward and reverse multiple times to make traction. I knew they could hear me struggling out there. Finally, I'm able to get to a plowed road. Normally would take me a half hour to get home, but because of the terrible road conditions, I didn't get home for another hour or so. I wanted to forget what had happened that night, and I thought things would have ended there, but I was wrong. Yet again. The following week, I was pulled into the office by the owner of the company, which is his father, to discuss my raise of pay. No biggie. I didn't think he knew anything of the situation, since he wasn't home the night of. We discuss work, my raise, and then he says this, which I remember very clearly. Let's take the hat off of work for a second. I'd like to apologize to you for what happened the other night. And I completely lose all color in my face. I explained to him how I had absolutely no intention on staying the night, and what had happened. He apologized for his lunatic of a wife, referring to her as a bull in a china shop, and said I should never had to have drive home in those conditions. I was so embarrassed, and never wanted to in that position again. So I quickly cut things off then and there, regardless of what had happened. He was still very much infatuated with me. He'd leave me flowers, candy, and love letters on my desk at work. He even tried to mess with another coworker to try and make me jealous. I wasn't falling for that shit. Nope. I'll pass on being a part of that circus. I ended up leaving that job for other reasons. But the following months, I kept receiving love letters and roses in the mail. I think he did genuinely like me, and as much as I wanted to look past his flaws, I could not look past his crazy lunatic mother. I have learned my lesson since then, and will not be messing with a coworker again. Too long didn't read went on a date with a coworker that went downhill. Got confronted by his mother and father. I had a girlfriend whose mom was like that. They literally wouldn't let the two of us out of her sight the entire time I was at her house. I swear. She even went as far as following me to the bathroom, and was still there when I came out. She pretended to be cleaning up the room across the hall, but who the duck does that in the middle of dinner? You have no idea how lucky you are. I had an unhinged wife that would act this way. Think of sour milk. When we put it in the fridge, it doesn't taste any better. This is a way of life for all three of them. Power to the workers. Woo, that is crazy. Yeah, you made the smart call. Sorry that happened to you. Not the same situation. But when my wife at that time girlfriend of a few months flew back home overseas, she got stuck at the international airport in Chicago due to bad weather. It was a terrible storm that was gonna last for days, and she was gonna be stuck not only in a city she didn't know, but a country she wasn't familiar with, and she didn't have a whole lot of money either. Hearing this, of course, I decided I was going to jump in my car and drive to go get her. My parents forbid me to leave, and they didn't like her too much anyway. But I was 20 years old and at home, just because I was on Christmas leave, and told them to go duck themselves, and drove from Cincinnati to Chicago and picked her up, and we had a romantic week there together. Long story short, my parents ended up doing more stuff that made me write them out of my life completely, but I've been married to that woman for 10 years now. Never trust a guy who doesn't stand up for you. Thanks for watching. Consider subscribing for more videos.